So I was scrolling on my phone earlier on and I noticed an interesting new pop-up on WhatsApp. Opened it and it looks like WhatsApp has given us new details about its privacy policy. Let's chat. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video. Thank you as always to everyone who's been watching and engaging with us. The last video was around the Acer Chromebook, and before that we've been getting into a little bit around the business models, cinemas and all of that stuff, and also what's been going on the Clubhouse front. So thank you to everyone who's been showing us some love and some support. Now for today, I was actually going to be talking about something completely different. When I was on my phone earlier on and I saw that pop up on the phone talking about some more details around WhatsApp's privacy policy, which we've spoken about quite extensively in previous episodes. So that's what we're going to be talking about for today. As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Liyon Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out and just see what the team can do for you. Before we get into what's happened this week, perhaps a recap is necessary. Very quickly, a few weeks ago we had WhatsApp issuing an update to its privacy policy where they alerted their users. The platform has over 2 billion users around the world, informing those users that they're going to be sharing more data across the Facebook group of companies which WhatsApp is a part of, which would mean that some of the user data would end up being shared with other platforms such as Instagram and Facebook Messenger. This actually got a lot of people up in arms, and a lot of people in the public, though Facebook has been doing this for some time. It was this alerting that let people actually know what was actually going on and made people think about it, which resulted in backlash and increases in downloads, people saying that they're leaving WhatsApp, and then that saw increased downloads on the side of Telegram and Signal. Because of the backlash a few weeks ago, WhatsApp actually ended up delaying the implementation of its new policy from February over to May, and for some time there, a little bit of quiet. We saw the rise in Signal and Telegram, but for now things seem to have died down until we got an update earlier this week. If you head on over to WhatsApp, especially if you have the latest version of WhatsApp, I saw this popping up on my Android device, and then I also saw it also popping up on the iOS one earlier on. And if you click on that, it sort of takes you to 2 pages that give little graphics and little explanations of what's actually going on with the new privacy policy. In this week's update, WhatsApp is basically trying to emphasize 3 main things. The first one being that because of end-to-end encryption, that's basically where the message is sent from one device, encrypted along the pathway and decrypted on the other side. We've spoken about end-to-end encryption before. It is key technology with a lot of these messaging platforms. So they're saying that because of that, they can't listen into calls, they cannot read messages between devices. That's the first thing. The second thing that they're talking about is to say that the new policy update will help to make it easier to communicate with businesses if a user chooses to. They made that quite a big feature. The little update graphics have 2 pages, and the second page actually highlights the fact that talking to businesses or communicating with businesses is optional. You're not forced to do that. And then the third thing is that Facebook says that through WhatsApp, they are entitled to and have to explain to their users what the privacy policy is going to be. Going through those things, 3 things stick out. The first one being something that we've spoken about previously on the platform, and that's the fact that this is not an opt-in or out sort of situation. There is only one button, and that is to agree. agree, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is the fact that in not so subtle terms, WhatsApp is just basically letting people know that if you get in and choose not to be part of this, you're going to have limited functionality with the WhatsApp app, in terms of calls, in terms of being able to, you know, send and receive messages. So already they've let you know that if you don't agree to the terms, you know, your experience on WhatsApp is going to be compromised, right? And then the third thing is they seem to be calling the bluff of their users to say, okay, cool, if you don't want to be part of our new terms and conditions, here's a guide on how you can leave the platform. Here's a guide on how you can export your chat history and all of these things. And they say that they, you know, hope people stay on the platform and hope that they don't do so, because if you delete, you know, yourself, that means that you erase your chat history, all of these things. But all of it sort of points to that whole message of, you know, you either agree or else. Once again, all of these things are just placing privacy, user privacy, cybersecurity into the limelight, because people are more and more concerned with what's happening with their data in and around their use of the internet. As I said, I'm going to place a link to the privacy policy in the description and you can read it for yourself. Something else that I noted, you know, in going through all of this is that on the App Store, if you go to update the WhatsApp app, you now see a block of information that shows you what data WhatsApp is actually collecting from its users, from its individuals, from you. And if you look at that, there's actually quite an extensive bit of information that's there, especially when you compare to the type of data that's being collected firstly by Signal and then by Telegram. And this is part of a change that's recently been implemented on the side of Apple, where basically they've compelled developers to actually tell users what type of information that they're collecting. So for almost any app, as long as you go there, in the description there is that block that lets you know what type of data is being collected. And all of this also made me think about one of our last videos, which was around Clubhouse, the app. And on Clubhouse, it's an audio only platform where people engage in discussions and things like that, but there are strict rules in their community guidelines around recording of these conversations, because one of the standout features about Clubhouse is the fact that once a conversation is done, right, in essence there's no record. It's different from other social media platforms where if you have an Instagram live, you know, that video, you have the option of reposting it once the live is done. If you write a tweet, it's there for the world to see. There's a permanent record. If you live stream, once the live stream is done, let's say on YouTube, it becomes a video that lives online. But once a Clubhouse chat is done, it's done. And that's now given rise to new apps, where basically apps are now able to tell you when a conversation is being recorded, because according to their community guidelines, you should only be able to record conversations with the consent of the people that are in a room. Coming back to WhatsApp and the issue of privacy, as part of the app update itself, right, this is now the actual WhatsApp app itself. If you look at the release notes and the new features that they're touting, there is now an option to have messages disappear after a certain amount of time. I think it's about 7 days if I'm correct, and I think that's one of the ways that people can, you know, start to look at their privacy, right? If you want something to disappear, you set it to disappear and that's it. The only issue is people can still take screenshots of your messages. So I'm in the middle of editing this video and I just noted that there's now a new feature that allows people to do video and voice calls using the desktop app. This has been a feature that's been available on platforms such as FaceTime, you know, for a number of years. So it's just cool to see that WhatsApp is testing this out. When you look at it, it looks like it's a beta feature for now and something that they should be rolling out over time. But I have had a chance to test it out and it seems to be working pretty well. In conclusion, Guys, this thing is happening. With the way that WhatsApp has been, progressing and giving these updates, come May, the new privacy policies are being enacted. So for the majority of people, like I said in the first video, people are likely just going to accept and continue moving with their lives, right? And if you think about what actually happens online, there are entities collecting our data left, right, and center. For a lot of people, this is going to be a non-issue. The issue then becomes if there's a big data breach, like what we saw with Cambridge Analytica and things like that. But for a lot of people, they might not even pay any mind to it, and they'll just, click accept and continue texting, because at the end of the day, 2 billion users, even if 20% leave the platform, they will still remain the biggest instant messaging service in the world. But at the same time, there have been some developments, because in this part of the world, I'm currently in South Africa, the information regulator, which sort of administers and looks after privacy laws and regulations in this country, has come out to say that WhatsApp should not be able to share data with other Facebook companies without express permission from the regulator. And you have those types of developments happening, on a local level. And one of the things that they did highlight is that they didn't understand why, because it seems Facebook is offering greater protections or at least less data sharing or whatever it is to people in Europe, simply because of how stringent GDPR and the laws are in that part of the world. Yet if you look at the POPI Act, which is the Protection of Personal Information Act in South Africa, it is modeled against GDPR. So there are those discrepancies that have been noted by the information regulator. And one has to think what is going to happen in other jurisdictions and other countries. Are other regulators going to come out with the same ruling to say that, okay, you have this new policy in place, but in this territory, right, you can't do A, B, C, and D? We wait and see. On a final note, the best thing that we can all do for ourselves is just be informed. Go read the terms, just be aware of the type of information that's being collected by WhatsApp, and also beyond WhatsApp, what type of internet footprint you leave behind yourself, and the type of information that's being collected by websites, apps, and your various activity online. So that's been it for this video. Just thought I'd do a quick one. As I said, I didn't even plan on doing this video, just noticed something and decided, no, this is something that we need to talk about, we need to discuss. Let me know what you think. Have you pressed the agree button yet? Are you going to press the agree button? Are all of these moves making you slowly become a bit wary about being on WhatsApp and saying, okay, cool, I downloaded those other apps, let me just go full on into those apps? Or can we just accept to some extent that WhatsApp has the type of market dominance where they sort of have become a de facto, and a lot of people are just going to accept out of necessity or out of convenience? Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
This is Muffs Too Much, and you're watching MobbJustice TV. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We're there on YouTube. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe.